Hello, beautiful soul, and welcome back to another episode of the Whole Soul Podcast. This is my first time recording an episode later at night, and I have my beautiful circadian friendly lights on. I got a little incense going. I have my salt lamp. I created a little altar earlier this week where I have a bunch of things like my Bible, the book A Course in Miracles, the Bhagavad Gita, a little candle, some seashells that I have from Costa Rica, just a bunch of things that mean something to me and are very meaningful. I definitely have never really spoken about how I have been super interested and just making my way back into the Bible, into the word of Jesus, not from a religious sense, but more so from this curiosity and this call to be closer to Jesus. Because I grew up Roman Catholic. My family is actually Polish. I'm a first generation American, and my grandparents were very religious. My parents made me go to church every weekend, and I just didn't like it. I didn't vibe with it, and I had some traumatic things that happened in my Sunday school experiences. So, for the longest time, I rejected Jesus. And the last, I would say, 2 to 3 years, he's really been coming back. And I just decided 2 weeks ago to order my own Bible because Taylor, my partner, and I, throughout the last 6 months, I actually took a Bible from home and brought it back to Panama and Costa Rica with me. But we've been just opening a random page every night and reading the Bible. And it's been so wholesome and so healing and so beautiful. And I finally got my own version. It's this big pink book. It's the KJV version with all of the explanations and interpretations. So I am getting into it. I know that learning is a lifelong journey. So, anyways, the Bible has definitely been very present in my life, and I'm excited to go deeper into it and recultivate a relationship with Jesus because I have been through so many different, like, hoops in the spiritual journey, and it feels so good and so simple to just have a relationship with Jesus. And yeah, I would love to do a whole nother episode on this topic, but overall, I just feel like there's so much noise in the world of spirituality and spiritual communities, and I got to a point where I was just feeling like overwhelmed and confused, and just reading the Bible at this point in my life has felt like the most pure and beautiful thing. And I just want to say too, I fully love Buddha. I see him as an enlightened master as well. I love Buddhism. I love Hinduism. I love the Bhagavad Gita. So there's many different sources of wisdom that I really resonate with and pull from. Ooh, and I can't forget Kabbalah. Kabbalistic wisdom is so beautiful. It's so ancient. It's actually Jewish mysticism. So it goes back thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago, even before Christ. So there's just so many beautiful sources of spiritual wisdom to pull from. And yeah, I guess I just wanted to share that because I feel like my faith and my spirituality is God, and there's so many different forms and interpretations of God, but it's all coming from the same source. And hearing and learning from all these different cultures and like ways of seeing God creates this more like holistic worldview of God and love and the world that we're living in. So yeah, I wouldn't call myself fully Christian or Catholic at all, but I definitely do love Jesus very much, and it's been such a simplified way of just feeling wholeness in this phase of my life. So I feel like that's a whole podcast that I just created in itself. But I wanted to dive into hot girl, high frequency habits today and what this really means. Because for the last 6-7 years now, I've been on this deepening of my spiritual path and my spiritual journey, and really going deep into learning and experiencing what it means to embody and live a high frequency life. And I want to point out, this doesn't mean spiritual bypassing or living in this toxic, positive point of view, but it's rather about creating a foundation in your life that is rooted in truth to the best of your ability, to be rooted in the most natural and pure ways of being. Because when you can connect to the highest truth, when you can connect to the purest and most natural way of being, your frequency naturally raises and you become naturally radiant and naturally magnetic and authentic without having to try. Because the whole point of this life, it's not to try to be like somebody else. It's not to try to imitate somebody else's life path. It is to be on your own authentic path and become the most you, to remember the truest and purest version of yourself that exists, because she already is here within you. And throughout our lives, we are programmed and conditioned to see the world a certain way, and we absorb these belief systems and conditionings that disconnect us from this truest, most purest version of ourselves. And I want to say, as a highly sensitive woman myself, and if you're listening to this podcast, you're most likely a highly sensitive person as well. But highly sensitive people have a higher sensitivity to absorbing energy from their environment, from the people around them, from belief systems in culture, in society. And so it's really natural and normal to build up these masks that aren't your true self, to survive and actually be able to exist and feel a sense of safety in your environment because of the way it is. But the beauty here is that once you get older, you realize that you don't have to rely on these masks anymore for safety, because you didn't know any better as a child and you just did what you needed to do to survive. So you can have some compassion with yourself if you're noticing yourself feeling inauthentic, or like you do have certain masks that you are now becoming aware of in this phase of your life. You did the best you could to protect yourself, and now you have the opportunity and the self-responsibility to strip and shed these masks and come home closer to your authentic self and to your true nature. And I need to say too that this is a lifelong process, and it can be a very challenging one, because you are quite literally stripping your ego's identity of what feels safe. It doesn't feel freeing. It actually puts you in this box of existing in a certain way, but it can be so painful because you're letting go of so much. As you let go of these masks, you are shedding certain ways of being, certain habits, certain behaviors. And with this, you're also letting go of people that you no longer resonate with because you're not on the same frequency. You stop resonating with certain places that you used to go to, or certain things that you used to associate yourself with. Not because anything is wrong, not because they are bad, not because you are better than, because you are growing. You're just outgrowing an old skin and growing into a new one, into a more aligned version of self. And this is really important to mention for me because I've noticed in many different spiritual communities around the world that I've visited through my travels to Costa Rica, to Panama, to Portugal, to Colorado, to Brazil. So many different spiritual communities. I've noticed all across the board that there is a spiritual ego that exists as well. People who have a spiritual awakening of sorts and almost feel like they are above the normal person and they judge the common person who maybe is still operating in old ways of being, that is watching the news, that is working a 9 to 5 that they don't love. But that is a trap in itself because no one person is better than another. And if you go through a spiritual awakening and you have this perception that you are kind of like elevated and you're looking down on people, you fucked up right there because you're putting yourself on a pedestal and you are looking down on people. And that is a spiritual ego that you have developed, my friend. So this may apply to you. You might be like, oh, wow, that might have happened to me at some point during my journey, or you might know people like that, and that's not what we want to happen. So coming into a high frequency state of being means coming home to your truest self and creating a life, creating a foundation that is natural, is pure, and is closest to God and the highest truth. And when I say God, I mean love. I mean the creator of the universe. I mean the creator that created you, because love is literally the building block foundation of our universe, of our existence, of every single core cell in your body. It is the fabric that connects all of us. So that's what I mean when I say God. So now I want to dive into some high frequency habits that I have embodied throughout my journey these last few years. And they're not things necessarily that I do all the time, but I just want to share the things that I consider high frequency in my own life. So the first thing, and this is something actually I do every single day, it is having a morning routine, a morning practice, a morning devotion for the first hour of the day. And if you say you don't have an hour, that is bullshit, my love, because if you have things going on, you can always wake up an hour earlier. And this means you might have to go to sleep a little bit earlier, and that's actually great for you. So, my whole perspective on the morning routine is that you want to have a sadhana, which means in yogic tradition, having the time and space in your morning to touch your soul before the world touches you. And that is the whole purpose of a morning practice, right? Because if you wake up and you go directly to your phone, you're missing the whole point. You are immediately overstimulating your brain, taking in so much information and checking out of your body because you haven't first yet checked in with yourself. So this first hour of the morning is critical. It sets the tone of your day. It sets the foundation of your day. It sets your energy for the day. And there's many things that you can do. So for me, for example, I love having a warm drink in the morning because the warmth that you bring into your belly through a warm drink helps kickstart your digestive system. So you can do this with a warm herbal tea. You can do this with warm lemon water. I love adding a little bit of really good high quality Celtic salt. That is amazing. For the last almost 5 months now, I've been doing this since January, but every single morning I've been doing my best to start with morning pages, which is putting my pen to paper and just allowing a stream of consciousness to come through. Whatever is on my mind, I just allow myself to brain dump and allow what is in my mind to come onto paper. And that has been a life-changing practice. I've talked about this on previous podcasts, I'm pretty sure, the morning pages experience that I've had, but I've noticed my thoughts, my mind is so much more clear throughout the day when I do this because whatever's in my mind isn't just circulating, it just gets on to paper. Something else that is a must for me in my morning routine, and honestly, it should be a priority and a must for you, is to make a high quality, nourishing breakfast. And when I say this, I mean that you should be prioritizing getting at least 30 grams of protein in the morning. And gosh, I know I'm sick of seeing everybody on social media being like, protein, protein, you need to eat more protein. But seriously, having 30 grams of protein in the morning is so important because I've noticed for myself that having a bigger breakfast keeps me satiated throughout the day. It keeps my energy balanced for longer, especially with the protein aspect, so that I don't have a midday crash. Whereas if I just eat fruits or I eat something small, I don't get that satiation that I need to feel energized and thrive throughout my day. So I usually have 3 eggs in the morning with a little bit of cottage cheese. I have some avocado. Sometimes I'll have sourdough toast with grass-fed butter. Sometimes I'll put some sprouts on it and drizzle it with olive oil. And then sometimes I'll have what's it called? A little bowl of fruits. Other times I'll cook up some bacon or sausages. So, yeah, just be creative with your breakfast. Do something as an act of self love to nourish yourself. You will be so grateful that you did, and you will start to notice the difference of how you feel in your body. So, morning practice and all those elements of your morning routine are what allow you to keep a higher signal and a higher frequency throughout your day. Something else that is super important is intuitive, cycle synced movement. You want to prioritize movement every single day because, number one, depression and anxiety can't hit a moving target. I love that so much. I've been seeing it on social media, but seriously, a flowing river is healthy, and as soon as that river has some stagnancy in it, it becomes sick. And it's the same for us. We have a whole frickin' ocean within us, and if she is stagnant, our emotions become stagnant, and our emotions are energy in motion, so they're meant to be moving. We're supposed to move through our emotions. And I want to say too, when I say cycle synced, it's really beautiful to use cycle syncing as a method to get to know your body, but at the end of the day, what you feel every single day is the most important. So just because you're in your luteal phase, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't be doing movement. If you're feeling high energy in your luteal phase, by all means, go do a strength training workout. Do what your body is capable of doing. That is my rule of thumb. But every single day, you should be moving. Whether it's going for a walk, whether it's doing yoga in the morning, whether it's doing Pilates or strength training. Move your body, darling. That is a high frequency habit. It makes you feel good. God, it makes you feel good. And it makes you look good. Mentally, physically, spiritually. Something else, like I said in the beginning, is studying. Sacred study. Whether it's just a few minutes a day in your Bible, whether it's a few minutes a day reading a sacred text. It is beautiful to fill your mind and to fill your heart with God's word, with the universe's word. Another high frequency habit is making time for prayer and gratitude. You can do this anywhere, but honestly, the best place to do this is to find a spot in nature and connect with nature. Pray, connect to your heart space, and ask the light of the Creator to fill you up, to give you the strength to pursue your day, to do what you need to do, to receive divine guidance and downloads from the Creator himself. Very powerful habit. And I promise you, when you start to connect to the light that is within you, and when you connect to the light of the Creator, your frequency, your energy will start to emanate this surrender, this trust, this faith in something greater than yourself. Because if you are just relying on yourself to figure things out, honey girl, that's not the way. You are not God, and God is so much more powerful than any human will ever be. So put your faith, put your trust in the highest, because I promise you, your prayers will be answered. Another high frequency habit, for women especially, is creating the space for your creativity. There are so many limiting beliefs around your creativity and how it's not worth your time or it's not going to make you money, so what's even the point? But your creativity is your life force. So making the space for it actually brings you so much more than you can even imagine or that you've even been programmed to believe that it can. Make space for art just because. You don't have to do it for any reason. You don't have to do it for an outcome. Do it because your soul needs to express itself. And there will be a clarity and a peace that comes from it. Another beautiful high frequency habit is high quality food. Focusing on nourishing yourself with the highest quality foods that you can. So, if it's possible for you, this means prioritizing eating local, farm fresh food if you can. Go to your local farmer market in the summer. Eat organic. It really does make a difference. And it's better to invest in your health now than pay a big medical bill later. That's just the truth. Try to aim for organic, grass-fed beef if you can, organic pasture-raised chicken, because there are so many hormones injected into the meat that is conventional, and you just don't want that in your body, baby girl, trust me. So like the food you eat really does reflect, and I can say this for a fact because when I was eating school food in college, I was so inflamed. I literally looked like a different person. I was carrying weight that I didn't even know I was carrying until I lost it. It was just this inflammation that was sitting in different areas of my body. So I can attest that high frequency food does reflect in your energy, in your consciousness, in your body. The music you listen to is also very important. Fill your music, or fill your soul and your mind with music that is regulating, that inspires you, that expands you. If you're listening to like rap with just like low vibrational words and messaging, that gets imprinted on your subconscious mind. It's literally preemptively programming you. So the music you listen to really does matter. It has an impact on your energy and your frequency. Another important high frequency habit is self-regulation and somatic awareness. This is so simple. All it takes is a few minutes out of your day to just sit with yourself, to put your hand on your heart, and to just check in with your body. How am I feeling today? Even some breath work, taking a few deep breaths and just allowing yourself to have deeper exhales than you do inhales, because this allows your vagus nerve to be stimulated, which activates the rest and digest response, signaling to your body that you are safe, which is also where healing happens in this state, because most of us are in survival, which is fight or flight. So we can't heal in this state. We can't receive divine guidance. We can't be present in this state. So a self-regulation practice every day. You can do it in the middle of the day. It takes 5 minutes. And doing it at night is such a beautiful, healthy, high-frequency habit that you'll see that over time it does have an impact on your energy and your consciousness and your state of being. And the way you hold yourself, the way you present yourself to the world. And last but not least, this actually has to do with regulation, but as a woman, it is so important to be connected to your sensuality, to your divine femininity, and you can only connect to your sensuality when you are regulated, when you feel safe in your body, when you release shame and guilt for whatever it is, maybe for being a woman, maybe for taking up space, maybe there's shame for being in your sensitivity and being in your softness. But it is in your sensitivity and in your softness where you are connected to your divinity. Your sensitivity is your divinity. And the more you can just feel safe in that, rather than feel shame or guilt or hold any fear around being perceived as too sensitive or too much or too weak or too yada yada yada, whatever story it is, the more you'll soften and allow yourself to tap into your true nature, into your inner child's essence, into your femininity, like what makes you a woman. And when you are in this frequency, you will naturally start to attract a divine masculine man that is healthy in his masculinity, because there's this polarity, right? There's like the masculine and the feminine. And a healthy feminine will set out to find a healthy masculine. Like attracts like. And the same goes for the opposite. If you are operating from attachment and the need for approval, you will attract a partner who will reflect to you those things. And you will be struggling with that attachment in that relationship. Oops, I burped. But when you actually do the healing within yourself to feel safe within your body and know that you're okay within yourself, that you don't need anyone, that actually being in a partnership is adding to your life. It's not something that you need to become dependent on. That is when you operate from a place of wholeness and call in somebody who can match you at that frequency. So, babe, your frequency is literally the foundation of everything. And when you have a high frequency and you can hold it, it's game changer. It's the foundation for your energy, your life, your relationships, your career, your ability to manifest and call in your dream life. And it happens here by embodying that frequency and like who you're becoming before you've become her. Feeling the feelings of abundance, of joy, of gratitude for the dream life, even if it's not here yet. Because maybe it's not in your physical reality yet, but it's in the feeling and believing and having faith that we are actually able to quantum leap and collapse that timeline. And the last thing I will say is that being in a high frequency doesn't mean that you are happy all the time or experiencing joy and inner peace. You can still be in a high frequency and experience deep levels of grief, of pain, of sadness, of just feeling like you're going through a dark night of the soul. It really just depends on where your consciousness is, where your emotional intelligence is, and your ability to move through challenges. Just because you are going through something difficult and challenging doesn't mean that you're in a low frequency. I mean, technically, yes, you're experiencing lower vibrational feelings and emotions, but your essence and your foundation is still aligned and true to God. So again, I think it's so important to say that being high frequency and like living in this way doesn't mean you're spiritually bypassing things. It doesn't mean you're trying to be toxically positive all the time. It doesn't mean that you're not going to go through things. It does, but it's just a matter of you staying devoted to praying, to being connected to God, to cultivating a relationship with Him through prayer, through devotion, through treating yourself like the queen that you are. Because if you don't view yourself as a queen, as a goddess, then how is anybody else supposed to see you as that? It begins within yourself. It begins with your self-concept and identity work of how you treat yourself, how you love yourself, because the world will reflect that back to you. So I hope you enjoyed my list of some of my favorite top high frequency habits, hot girl habits, and ways of being, because they have absolutely 100% transformed my life in ways that I would have never thought. And they've allowed me to become the woman that I am today, which is so far from the woman that I once was. And I'm so proud of myself for that. And I'm also so proud of you for being here, for getting through this episode, for just being so interested and devoted in doing the work to become your most radiant, vital, grounded, and embodied version of self. If you enjoyed this episode, please make sure to rate it on Spotify or on Apple, or if you're listening on YouTube, you can like it. And I want to share that in June, I will be releasing a 30-day whole woman reset, which is devoted to the highly sensitive woman who is just looking to reset all areas of her life and build a new foundation based on clarity within herself. This is going to take place in my community, the Whole Soul Collective. So if this is interesting to you and you'd like to be a part of it, you can join the community in the link in my bio. We're finishing up the Artist's Way at the end of May, so the doors will be open to the community at the end of May. And I'm so excited to see all of the new beautiful women that come in, because we're really amping this up with the Whole Soul Collective. And I will be creating new content, new courses, new resources, and challenges for you to really be supported in becoming the version of yourself that you know you're meant to be. Because you're not supposed to do it alone, and you need community. You need badass women in your corner supporting you every step of the way, which is why I created my community. But I love you so much. I hope you have the most beautiful day, and I will see you next week. Ciao for now. Mwah.